Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Bree from Homemade on Our Homestead. Today I'm going to be sharing a really simple pattern for how to sew a stocking for Christmas. If you're looking for a free paper pattern for a Christmas stocking, you can head over to my website and I will have a link for that in the description box below of where you can print out a free pattern. So start by taking the fabric that you're going to be using for the outside piece of your stocking and you're going to fold that in half on your cutting table or work surface. Press out any wrinkles. Then taking an old stocking or one that you've borrowed from a friend or purchased at a thrift store, you're going to lay that down on top of that fabric that you've just folded in half, and you're going to cut about a ½ inch away from the stocking all the way around. This is going to leave room for the seam allowance. So once you've finished cutting out of the exterior fabric, you're going to repeat the same process for the fabric that you want to use for the lining of your stocking. Laying down the pieces that you previously cut out from the exterior, you can cut along the same lines for your interior fabric. So now I've just finished cutting my fabric, so I have 2 pieces for the exterior as well as 2 pieces for the interior, and now you can decide what color band you want to put on your stocking. So because this fabric is pretty busy, I'm going to use the same fabric that I just cut out for the liner of my stocking for the band as well. So to get the top band measurement for your stocking, you'll first cut your piece of fabric 11 inches high. Then you'll cut the length you need by measuring the width of the top of your stocking and doubling it. So let's take this downstairs and get this sewn together. So we're going to start by taking our 2 exterior pieces of our stocking. You're going to want to make sure that these are right sides together. That just means the pretty side of the fabric needs to be facing. Now for this fabric, you can't really tell what's the right side and what is the wrong side. So for me, it doesn't matter. But if you are using a specific fabric that has a print on one side, you're going to want the print of the fabric to be facing each other and on the inside while we stitch our stocking. So again, using whatever seam allowance you want, you can use a ½ inch or a ¼ inch. We're going to stitch down the side, the toe, the heel, and up the side, leaving the top part of the stocking unstitched. So now we've just finished stitching up the exterior part of our stocking here. So now we can grab the 2 interior pieces for our stocking and we're going to stitch those exactly the same. And so for this fabric, again, this is cream colored, so there's not really a wrong side or a right side. If you're stitching the lining and you have a printed fabric, you're gonna again want the pretty sides of your fabric right sides together. Using the same seam allowance that you just used for the exterior of your stocking, you're going to use the same seam allowance for the interior. You don't want to make the interior one smaller. Your inside of your stocking is not going to fit into the exterior of your stocking. So before I try to put the inside of my stocking inside the exterior piece of my stocking here, I'm actually going to take either a rotary cutter or a pair of scissors, and I'm going to trim this fabric edge down quite a bit, just so the fabrics fit nicely together. All right, The interior of our stocking has now been trimmed. The exterior is now trimmed. So for this step, you're probably going to want to turn on your iron so you can give the exterior of your stocking a quick press. It will just make sure that the stocking is laying nice and flat so the interior of it fits in nicely. So while your iron is heating up, take the exterior of your stocking and you're going to turn it so the right sides are facing out. So right now it looks kind of small down here, the fabric's kind of rolled in, so once you press this, it's going to lay nice and flat. So I like to take my fabric and kind of just roll it in between my fingers, and it really makes this seam kind of pop out so you can really press that nice and flat. So I do this around the entire exterior edge of my stocking. I'd kind of just finger press it and then I press it with my iron. Now we can take our liner of our stocking, we're going to leave it just like this, and we're going to put it into the exterior part of our stocking. You're not going to want to turn this because you want this nice edge here on the inside of your stocking. You don't want to see this. So for this part, I like to actually take both of the side seams and match these up. Now we have the interior of our stocking nestled inside the exterior like so. We matched up the side seams, so you could pin these if you don't want them to shift. Most of the time they'll sit just fine. Now let's move on to the band of our stocking. So the first thing you'll want to do is give the band of your stocking a press. Band of your stocking, and the first thing you're going to do is take that and you're going to fold it in half widthwise, matching up the two shorter ends like so, and you're just going to lay those with one of the folded edges matching up this seam and this edge matching up here. Now as you can see, this overlays probably almost 3/4 of an inch. And kind of just, again, you can use a pin for this. You're going to want to mark it right on that seam. So I just put a pin there like that to mark where I need to sew the seam. Again, the folded edge is here, placed along this seam. The two open ends are over here. So I've just finished sewing the seam here where I had my pin placed. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of fabric over here to the side of the seam. So I'm going to lay this down. Actually going to take a pair of scissors and just trim this down a bit. Now with your iron, I like to open this up so the seam is in the center. So I like to press the seam open. Once your seam is pressed open, you're going to take your tube of fabric like that, and we're going to check the fit before we do anything else. So this should be able to slide over the top of your stocking like so, and it should lay pretty flat like it does. So that's great. Take that tube of fabric now, and we're going to turn it, matching up these raw edges here along the top, and you should have a folded edge along the bottom. Once you have your edges nice and lined up, so when I iron, make sure your side seams over here are laying nice and flat. So we're going to line up this side seam here and this pressed edge here, you're going to open up your stocking, and keeping all of the raw edges together, take that side seam, you're going to insert this into the center of your stocking like that. So for our stocking hanger, I have cut an 8-inch piece of some decorative ribbon that I had. This is about almost a 1/2 inch wide. Again, it's 8 inches long. I'm going to take it, I'm going to fold it in half. So both of the raw edges are at the same side. Kind of give it a little press with your fingers. And I'm going to put this piece of ribbon in between the band of our stocking and the liner of our stocking. So once you have the piece of ribbon or piece of fabric that you're going to use to hang your stocking from nestled in between your liner and the band of your stocking, you can go ahead and pin or clip that band to the top part of your stocking. This is just going to make sure nothing shifts when you're taking it to your machine to sew. So now our stocking is all pinned, so head over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch seam all the way around this top edge of your stocking. Alright, so now that we have finished sewing the top band of our stocking, I like to take my scissors and trim off this excess ribbon here so it doesn't get too bulky. Reach into your stocking and grab that top band that you just got done stitching on. You're going to pull that out so it looks like this. Now as you can see, you have this really unattractive raw edge there, but it's going to be hidden. You're going to take this top band of the stocking and we're going to roll it down. So your stocking is definitely complete the way it is. You have your hanging strap here. You could take your sewing machine if it has a decorative stitch and you could stitch along this top edge here as well as down here. You could also embroider somebody's name on this stocking with the year, or you could just leave it as is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Christmas stocking sewing tutorial, and I'll see you next time.